Hey, what it is, man? We back in your boy 100, and I just seen a clip my boy Joe Rogan talking to Quentin Tarantino. So I gotta tap into that because Quentin Tarantino never really, I don't ever really hear him talk ever about anything, his movies, nothing. So if I had to talk about Pulp Fiction, Pulp Fiction's influence on the culture.
President Biden is lying about Georgia's new election reform.
Jesus Christ,
Even the
that's
Washington Post caught him in his lies. This
The Joe Rogan Experience.
How I got introduced to you, I'd heard about Reservoir Dogs, but the first film I saw was Pulp Fiction.
Reservoir Dogs, that's a good ass movie. But I think I did the same thing. I think I saw Pulp Fiction before I saw Reservoir Dogs.
And I saw Pulp Fiction with this girl that I was dating when I first moved to Los Angeles. And I remember being in Mann's Chinese Theater watching this.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like this crazy change in my life.
That was in the first. That was in the first few weeks of it opening. Yeah, because that's where it opened.
Yeah. Crazy change in my life, moving to Los Angeles and then seeing this film. And then I remember very clearly, like at the end of the film, like even in the middle of the film, going, this is the craziest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. And it symbolized to me like the world was changing, like everything was changing. It was so wild and so crazy. It was a film it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. All the different timelines, how you interwove everything together, but the violence, the chaos, and the humor of all of it. Like people walked out of that movie theater fucked up.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, wow, like the world is different. Like sometimes you'll see a work of art, something, and you'll say that thing just changed everything. It just it was so wild.
If you've never seen Pulp Fiction, please go see Pulp Fiction today. It's a great movie in my opinion, and it is weird how the timelines move. Like you start at one point, then you jump back, then you jump forward, then you know what I'm saying? You never know where you at for real. But it's a good movie though.
That it influenced so
movie.
many other films afterwards. They tried to be like a Pulp Fiction movie, or they tried to be wild.
Well, people would ask me about that, and they go, "Hey, did that really bug you?" When there was a period of it seemed like 5 years in the '90s where like every crime film kind of had this like ironic bit, and they talked about TV shows and played music in a weird way, and everybody was a smartass. All right.
My boy Quentin Tarantino, the older and older he gets, the more and more he looks like a Boston Celtic.
And they asked me like, "Well, did that bother you?" And I go, "Well, no, it doesn't bother me. One, I don't think any of them are as good as mine, so it just makes mine look better and better, and my dialogue look better and better." But you know, one of my favorite directors is Sergio Leone, and I always considered I was doing to traditional gangster films like Scorsese kind of Goodfellas kind of movies, what he was doing to traditional westerns when he did his spaghetti westerns. So then the fact that mine hit, and now the fact that it wasn't that they were just trying to do Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. They were trying to exist in the same subgenre of crime film that I had created, which is what all the other spaghetti westerns that came after Leone's had done. So the fact that it wasn't they were doing just Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction ripoffs, I'd created a subgenre in gangster films that did not exist before, and they were trying to fill that subgenre, and that was fucking awesome.
That's got to be a wild feeling.
It was great. I had
created a subgenre.
I had affected gangster films. I mean, by that point, to do kind of a Scorsese kind of thing was like almost passé.
Yeah. Well, you brought back John Travolta.
Yeah,
which is pretty wild too.
Well, I remember even asking somebody. I go, okay, well, when people say Tarantino-esque, what do they mean? And there was a guy I knew. He was he's like a film analyst. His name Dave Scow. And he goes, well, okay, just to give you an idea, it's like, okay, so in Bad Boys, or I think it's like Bad Boys. I go, well, like in Bad Boys, okay, you have a couple of henchmen working for the bad guy, and they're sitting in their car, and all of a sudden they have a conversation about an I Love Lucy episode. Okay, that wouldn't have happened without you.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, well,
That's true. In these movies, bro, like it'll be like a main plot going on, but the conversations being had while the story is unfolding is so random. And it has nothing to do with nothing happening in the scene. He does that in all of his movies pretty much.
What is that from? I mean, where have you had this this flair for references and then this way of layering?
That just comes from being Gen X, man. I mean, that was the whole thing about that generation, is the idea that the generation before us that like lived through the 60s, they had the 60s, they had the accoutrement of the 60s, they had all that 60s music, and they looked down on the generation that grew up in the 60s, in the 70s. Like, you didn't have any of that shit. You didn't have the music that we had. Well, maybe we didn't have the music you had. We had our music. But what we did have is we had television. We had the Saturday morning cartoons that we dug. We had Schoolhouse Rock. We had all the TV shows we liked. We had Speed Racer. We had all these kind of things. And they meant something to us.
Just think about that, bro. Some of y'all parents, when your parents was born, there was no television. There was no TV. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
And,
just like these kids today, I'm going to be like, hey, when I was coming up, there was no social media. We didn't have social media. It didn't exist. We use our computers to play Sims, Roller Coaster Tycoon. You know what I'm saying? We used to call the chat room on the phone and talk to random folks. Hey, you know what I'm saying? They don't know landlines. They ain't hip.
Kids back then, who, if their parents didn't let them watch TV at a certain point, well, the parents might have actually had like the best intentions, but they were actually robbing their children of the pop cultural glue that's going to tie them to their generation when they get older. And so, we had the ABC movies of the week. I mean, we had all that stuff. And we had fucking great movies. If you were going out and seeing the movies of New Hollywood, we had all that. And so when we got older, it was about talking about that stuff. That was what was worth talking about. And then to actually have characters in a movie talk about that was making them sound realistic. And to be specific about it. You remember that old sitcom? No. Talk about You mean Alice? Okay. Talk about Mel and Alice.
Catch new episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience for free only on.
That's real. Tap into Joe Rogan. It's free on Spotify, as you see on the screen. But yeah, Quentin Tarantino, bro, he comes off as like a filmmaker and a writer director all in one that really loves film. Like really loves film. Like watch hella old films. I can't bring myself to watch no Western, bro. I can't watch no Western, dog. I couldn't do it, bro. No. But I guess that's the times he grew up in. So he got a whole different position, a whole different swag, a whole different lens on film. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he top notch. He up there, bro. He up there as one of the best, for real. Now go watch every Quentin Tarantino movie. Now I guarantee you'll like it, but you at least gonna take something from it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's a little quick little video, you know what I'm saying? Leave a like for your boy, you know what I'm saying? Subscribe to your boy. I'm trying to run these numbers up, and leave a comment with your opinion on the video. And I'm probably gonna re-upload again today. So yeah, man, catch you in the next one.